There's a big difference between raising rich kids and raising kids with money. In fact, the research on self-made millionaires show that the majority of them learned to work, sell, and manage money when they were just little kids. Starting with letting them fail and learn from it. Now, when you hear that word fail, you're like, of course I don't want my kids to fail. But by protecting them, by not letting them fail, you're also not letting them learn. Think about the things that you learn and you understand. Those came from experiences. If you don't have that true experience, how are you going to have the true learning that changes who you are and allows you to improve? Your goal as a parent is to create the experiences that allow your kids to step out of their comfort zones, have a little reach, a little distance to grow, and then to not let them fail in a way that they don't learn from it. Your job is let them have the experience and point out the lessons that you needed them to learn from it. Because you know what life is like. You're older, you've had that wisdom. You know what lessons they need to know in order to deal with the troubles and the trials that they're gonna have in the future. So why not allow them to have those experiences while you're guiding them? One of the other ways I really talk about how raising kids with money is different than raising rich kids is we talk about money, that it all belongs to God. That honestly, here on this earth, everything is His, and so therefore we're stewards of it. And our job is just to make the best of it in the way that He would want us to take care of it. And so that doesn't mean we don't use it for fun activities and things that might seem wasteful, or buy expensive meals or go on expensive trips, but the opposite. We do those things because God wants us to feel joyful, He wants to be happy, and He wants us to build our relationship with our family. The money belongs to God. You just have to understand how He wants you to use it. And when your kids understand that what we have isn't really ours, but it's His, then you're no longer taking pride and feeling spoiled because you're comparing what you have and others don't. One of the greatest things you need to do is make sure that they learn the lessons to be able to continue on the success that's already been started inside of the family. The way I do that, and the way that's actually helping them grow the most, is by requiring them to read. So every month, my kids come to me with a report card and they say, Dad, here's the book I'm reading and here's how many pages I read. And based off of that, obviously I decide what kind of reward and how I want to compliment them, or how much encouragement I need to give them to read better. But these books are books that were chosen by me and my wife. We decide these kids need these lessons before they reach this age. And so every age group between like 5 and 8 has certain books that they need to read, between 8 and 10 certain books they need to read, and so on, because that helps them learn more at home with us, and then they can go out and learn and do more in the community. But being intentional about what I teach my kids is not things that just come out of my mouth, but I support all those things that they're trying to learn with the books of the people who've become masters of those topics, and therefore we're teaching our kids together. If you want your kids to understand why it's so important to choose the right friends, read The Proximity Principle. If you want your kids to understand how daily habits build them into the person they need to be in the future to hit their goals, read Atomic Habits. And if you want somebody that's thinking long-term and creating a vision of who they want to be and then deciding how they're going to get there, read Your Next 5 Moves. When building millionaire kids and you're trying to teach them to invest early, one of the greatest things you need to think about is investing in their mind and who they are and their confidence. I want all my kids to be leaders. Leadership is the attribute that cannot be taken by any AI, by any machine, and so we need to build leaders. So investing daily means learning and growing and having experiences. Now there's the other side of investing early as well, which really comes to investing as you would think, 401k, IRAs, that kind of stuff. Do you know that if your kids have earned income, that they can already start putting it in a Roth IRA? So something that's taxed but grows tax-free forever. And a simple investment, $18,000, $20,000 early, can grow into millions over their lifetime, and they get that tax-free later on. So if you want to invest early and you want your kids to become millionaire kids and have the ability to live the life they want, invest in their discipline and their learning through books and activities, and then have them get some earned income and start putting some of that away into a Roth IRA. A lot of people will say, well, one, they're going to get upset when you're taking this money and you're putting it in a Roth IRA for them, or you're investing it for them. But that's where you have to sell the vision. You have to explain how that money is going to grow and it's going to compound year over year over year, and that by a certain age, they're going to have so many dollars. If you sell the vision of what that money is going to turn into and what the work that they're doing today, what it's going to create for the future, then they're not going to fight you on it. So make sure as you're teaching them to invest, you're not just teaching them, hey, you should take this and you should put it here. Teach them the why and explain the vision and the lifestyle that it's going to create. Don't just tell them, but get them to feel it. A little explanation of how this compound interest works. So if you invest $1,000 in a year into the market between the ages of 5 and 65, by the time they retire, they're going to have over 1.2 million. So investing early and allowing it to compound not only teaches discipline and how we should spend money in order to build a future for ourselves, but it also turns out to be an immense amount of money with a little investment of $60,000 in total. So every year, right around Thanksgiving and Christmas, we sit down as a family and we talk all things finance. We talk about the business, how much money it makes, how much money we have in savings, what the value of the business is. We look at all their accounts. We look at their Roth IRAs, and we look at their 529s, which is the education savings account, and they get to see it. So they get to see where it was a year ago, they get to see where it is now, and anytime they want to talk or ask about where their money is going and if it's growing with the market, be there to show them. So when you take those numbers and you say, all right, in your lifetime, you've earned this amount of money and we've put this much into the investment, and then they've been able to see the growth and they understand that that growth happened without them doing extra work, that's when you get their buy-in and that they're now wanting to do more chores, more work, put in more effort to earn more money because they know by investing it, it's now working for them instead of them just getting it by doing their own work. So obviously, if you have them earning money when they're little and it's earned income and they're putting into a Roth IRA, Roth IRAs have certain rules that allow you to be able to use it without penalty or to not use it without penalty. So that's something you're going to want to research about a little bit. But then if it's income that's not put into a Roth IRA, when should they get it? Or if you want to gift to your kids, my recommendation is, one, if you're going to have a bunch of money in the future, give it to them early when it's going to make the most impact in their life. Two, as long as they're kids that are appreciative and not spoiled and don't feel entitled to it, then why not give it if you have it when you can make the biggest impact? Because they have events that when they have time and they have health, that now they need the money in order to go have some type of an experience or some other way to learn, that's when you want to give the money. In our culture, we think about giving an inheritance when somebody dies. And when you give money just when somebody dies, that's also like them waiting for you to die so that they can get the money, which is kind of like, I don't know, it just sounds horrible, right? Thinking about it both ways. And then the other part is, why not give it to them while they're alive and while you're alive so you can feel the gratitude and appreciation, and you also get to see what experience you generated with your money that you gave to your kids. Think about your money in a plan that you're creating life value and life experiences for them. You're giving them the money when they actually need it and not just when you're on your deathbed and ready to move on. So to get a little specific about my situation, when my company was early and was not worth as much, I gifted percentages or equity or shares of my company to my kids. So now they all have a piece of the pie. So I did that early when it wouldn't go against my gift exemption. So meaning the government decides how much money you can give to your kids that is tax-free. So I gifted it early when there was no value or less value in the company, then they all now have shares in the company. One of the ways that I was able to teach my kids about money was using what I call the envelope system. So we had a spend, a save, and a give envelope. And so every time they would earn money, I would give it to them in cash so that they could feel it, touch it, and know what it was. And so with that, we would put 10% into the give, and then we would put money into the save, and we put money into the spend. Now the best way to do that initially is just to create up a percentage of the total funds that you want to distribute to each envelope. And for us, the giving part, that was the first one we would do because we wanted them to once again be reinforced that this is God's money, that we're using it to build up God's kingdom. So how do we want to give to be able to help elevate other people's lives? One of the books that I have them read around the age of 11 is Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey. And after reading that book, that's when I allow them to have more money in the spend group than they did in the save group. And it allows them to go and buy and spend the way that they feel is going to be best for their lives. When talking about millionaire kids, a lot of people talk about the word spoil. And for me, the word spoil, it doesn't mean that they have something. It just means how they act by having something. And so for me, it's okay to go fly private. It's okay for them to have nice clothes. It's okay for us to buy luxurious and nice things, but it's not okay for them to act like brats. It's not okay for them to act entitled. And it's not okay for them to think that they're better because they have something materially greater than someone else. Most people, they think about spoiled as just having something that's luxurious. But having something luxurious does not mean you're spoiled. Spoiled is an attribute. It's a character. It's a personality trait. So the goal as a parent is not to give them everything, but the goal is to make sure that they are humble and kind and appreciative of what they have and what they're going to receive. Millionaire kids surrounded by ambitious people. So you think about who has influence on your kids. Obviously, you as a parent, you have the most influence. But the person or the people who have the secondary most influence on your kids are those in your near proximity. One of the most important things you can do if you want to be a parent that teaches your kids certain principles and certain life lessons is to surround them with friends and families that are going to teach them the same principles and attributes that you want your kids to know. So what that looks like is if you want your kids to learn and understand how to take care of money, you probably need to live in a wealthier neighborhood. If you want your kids to play sports, you need to live in a neighborhood where kids play sports. Then you need to put yourself in that proximity so your kids are already interacting with other kids who are being taught those lessons by their parents. And so therefore everything is being reinforced and they are learning and growing while at home and then also while they're out in the community. I'm not just talking about the kids and who they're going to hang out with, because think about you as a parent and how your friends have influence on you. And so I have friends that read books, I have friends that are constantly growing, I have friends that are constantly pushing themselves to be better, stronger, more knowledgeable, a better leader, and so on. And those things, when they influence me, they influence my kids, but they also influence my kids directly. I have a great friend of mine who takes my oldest son, who's now 18, he takes him out to lunch at least once a month. They go have one-on-one conversations, they go and do activities together. They recently just went to one of those spas that you do a sauna, cold plunge. And so you think about those types of activities where they're doing something a little physical, but also having conversations, and he's able to give advice and basically help guide my kids the way that we want them to go. So that's what I mean by home-led and community-supported, is teach the lessons at home, but put yourself in the community where now other people are going to reinforce those behaviors, those learnings that you want your kids to have. Now, the biggest thought or complaint I hear when you talk about millionaire kids is they're like, oh, they're going to be spoiled brats. They get everything they want. There's a lot of people that get jealous and will criticize them. My kids know that they work hard for their money, and they know what type of effort and what sacrifices were made in order to achieve it. So if you want your kids to be able to have nice things and yet still be humble and kind to everybody else, teach them these principles, that they are stewards of the money, and make sure they understand by themselves doing hard work, doing things that are difficult, and then feeling what money's value truly is based off of the pain and the sacrifice and the time that it takes to create the money versus the pleasure that it takes to spend it. As long as you can do those two things, you will have great kids that won't be spoiled. As a father, as a parent, your goal should always be that your kids achieve higher success than you in every category that's important. Not only in the business world as a leader and being able to make more money and being able to give more and being able to help more, but also be a better parent, be a better community member. So my grandpa worked hard, which allowed my dad to step up. My dad, he worked hard, which has now allowed me to step up. And I'm working hard so that my kids can step up. And their kids, and their kids, and their kids. Every generation, one step higher than the generation before. Now, I talk a lot about my kids, and I talk a lot about business and how I make money. But if you want to learn more about how to be better at both business and raising your kids, check out my book, The Golden Blueprint, available now. I'll see you at the top.